Hello, guys. Welcome to this episode. Today, we're joined with Victoria, and I'm really looking forward, really excited for this podcast episode, as I think there's going to be a lot of value to it. Victoria, do you mind just giving the people watching or listening just a quick introduction, like who you are, what you do, like a quick elevator style pitch introduction, and we can take it from there?
For sure. Hello everyone, I'm Victoria Connery and I am Ireland's leading female fitness photographer. So I potentially help mostly coaches with their content. So I would help them get imagery, professional imagery. I would show them how to use their imagery and it helps them to attract more leads. But I also take photos of their clients. So they would take their clients through a fitness program, whatever, how many weeks, and then they would come to me to get their after photos.
Amazing. And how long have you been in that space, in that world?
I've been in the fitness space now for 4 years. But I did start my photography journey in 2017, so many years.
Yeah. Was it like for me, it was more inspired by my kind of hobby and love for fitness. Was it like I'm guessing it was kind of similar for you, or how did it go from just photography into then being the leading person for it?
Yeah, I ask this all the time. So I actually was a wedding photographer, a newborn photographer, and family portraits. Um, Sort of felt like I hit my ceiling with them. Wasn't really getting what I wanted out of it. Very long days as well with the weddings. Like you'd be up from about 6 o'clock, and then you'll not get home till probably like midnight or 1 o'clock, whatever it was. Newborns like a 4 hour shoot and you're potentially only shooting for an hour. So I've always loved fitness. I've always been going to the gym. So I actually work with Martin Irvine. So he put out a job role for like behind the scenes photographers. So I was actually shooting him, taking photos. But then we found out like, there's a niche to be had. Like there's no other female fitness photographer doing what I'm doing at the minute. Um, so I was like, right, it's a niche. So that's the avenue that I went down.
Yeah. And even now, like 4 years later, I still actually, now you've put me on the spot, I still can't think of anyone doing it. Amazing. So one kind of question I had in mind from people listening, fitness coaches listening, is for the content side of things, that like what are some kind of quick wins, or what are some kind of things you can kind of typically, I don't know if you do this as well, but like do you ever, like if you ever find yourself like going through social media, is there anything you see and you're like, okay, this is working really well, or like there's quick wins that people can implement to make things either look more professional or get more leads, or anything that kind of a big goal might be for a fitness coach?
It's very hard not to do, but I will kind of look at someone's content and just like, yeah, you can do that better, you can do that. People at the minute don't really want to be seeing like a before and after people standing in their underwear. It's just people have seen it, it's overdone, it's overused. We always say about talking about the wins off the scales. Like, someone just doesn't go to the gym to feel good in the gym. They go to the gym to feel good outside the gym. And that's everyone. So, talking about the wins off the scales a lot more than actually here's before and after. Of course, if you have an amazing before and after, I wouldn't say no, don't post it, but talking about the little wins inside your program will probably benefit a lot more than someone just standing before and after. You probably know yourself, you see them all the time, you probably just scroll past them and you probably don't even read someone's story. And someone probably has a really big story to tell, but if you do a before and after with it, more likely people are going to scroll. So testimonials is a big thing. Written, I would say not really. Still do that if you can get a written one, but video would have more of an impact in your content. Reels are a big thing at the minute. Everyone is using them. Instagram wants to be like TikTok. Reels are a really good way to help your engagement. I am actually doing like a reel every single day in December to see how it goes. So far it's going really well. So anyone that's not hopping on this reel trend, I would definitely recommend to hop onto it, even if it's for like myself. I'm posting like throughout December to see what does really well. Then I'm going to go back and analyze what done really good, and then I'm going to post more of that. Adding value into your posts is probably the biggest thing you can do as well. For me, obviously, it's a lot different for fitness coaches. You know, adding value as in how to set up a camera, the right lighting, you know, things like this would really help on my content for people that want to make their own content. But yeah, I think that's probably
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. I agree with the storytelling side of things, and it's like it's one of those that people like. I would argue sometimes pretty much 95% of people probably have a fitness goal to some extent. Like it's just like an energy goal, or like um, so it's just storytelling. So with the real side of things, one thing I'm kind of guilty of, and I think maybe a lot of people listening to, is just trying to make things too perfect, like spending like 20 minutes off faffing around trying to set up the higher distance stuff. What are your tips in terms of like setting things up from like actually filming, and what does like quote unquote good look like in terms of knowing when something is good to post, and when should you just like relax and stop like stressing with making it perfect?
One thing that we hear all the time is like things too perfect, and reels do not need to be perfect at all. I would recommend getting a good mic. Having really good sound in your videos will benefit you more. Say if you don't really have like a good picture, people are more likely to listen if your sound is really good. Get yourself a ring light or like a cheap light on Amazon. There is one floating about at the minute that just clips onto your phone. I think it's about £11. Tripod is really good as well. You can get one that literally has like a wee remote and you press it and it starts recording. For Apple users out there, you can sync your Apple Watch to your phone so you can see if you are in the middle of your screen. If you don't, there's like a real everyone knows when I say this tip, but if you have your phone set up with a mirror, you can see yourself in the mirror to see if you're in frame. Now, of course, that's if you're using your back camera, which I would probably recommend because it's more resolution. But you can use your front camera as well.
Yeah, and then how big of a thing, this is something I've always been told off about, how big of a thing is it like making sure you look into the camera, and like is there anything you would recommend in terms of like is to keep your attention on it, like teleprompter stuff like that? Do you ever see people have success with stuff like that, or do you think, I think this is like very niche discussion here, but
I don't think so. Like if you talk into the camera, of course, people are going to feel like you're talking to them. I know myself, I tend to look away when I'm thinking, and I'm doing it quite a lot now. But I would say definitely look into the camera. It creates a personal connection to whoever is watching it. This is probably going off to another subject, but creating like snappy clips so you don't have to be talking all the time. You can introduce yourself, you can introduce what you're doing. If you're doing like a 10-minute meal, and then zoom into yourself. You don't have to constantly talk to the camera. Just make yourself more interactive. Captions are a really big one at the minute. Everyone is using them. I always recommend to use it because say if someone's sitting on the train and can't physically hear what's going on, they can read your captions. And having it change as well, change colors, really good. Again, it is changing things. People like things to change around every 2 to 3 seconds. So a tip I always just say to someone, be aware of what you're watching and what you interact with a lot more, especially if you're reading a post. Say if you only read the first line, why did you stop reading it? Probably the hook wasn't good enough. So say if it's a big long paragraph, but you're reading it probably halfway, it's a really good post. Or if you read it the whole way, it's a really good post. So the hook is key as well.
And I think with a lot of these hooks, they're universal. Like if it's fitness coach reading it to grow their business, they can probably change it and they can use it to for their fitness to get fitness clients. Like it's a universal thing. Um, with the structure, then, like, what are the stuff you would say in terms of is there a particular structure you try and use? Anything you'd suggest in terms of how to actually structure a reel from start? Hook, and then the value bit in the middle. Like, is there anything you'd say in terms of keeping in mind and on how to actually structure a reel that's engaging, or is it just completely or very dependent, I guess?
I think it's probably depending on the video. Now, I actually haven't sat down and structured it myself. When I start recording, I just record. But say if you're doing like a 10-minute meal, you could literally say you're gonna, 10-minute meal, or air fryer meal. They're really big at the minute. And then I've seen a lot of people setting up like an iPad or a tablet for the 10-minute timer. It's keeping people engaged because they're watching this timer to see if you actually hit this 10 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever meal you're making. Again, it's keeping things engaging for people. Something is changing in your videos, and it's also giving them value because they're getting a 10-minute meal out of the end of it.
Yeah. And I guess that's where, like you mentioned at the beginning, keeping it changing every 2 to 3 seconds. If you just think about that rather than anything else, you find ways like change the move around or something like that.
Yeah. I don't think people need to think too much about doing videos. You just need to be yourself in a video. And that's probably the most beneficial thing that you can do in your content is be you. People will buy into you. If you're someone totally different on social media, you'll probably find no one will buy into you because they don't believe in you.
Yeah. And I guess on that then, like an interesting point is like with filming content, this is something I found myself, and I think maybe a lot of people do actually, is like, how do you relax yourself to a point where you're not trying to be like James Smith or you're not trying to be someone else, and you're like, I can actually breathe on video. I don't have to like, be super animated, or I don't have to say everything like double the speed I usually would. Is there any things you find in what do you tell your clients in terms of relaxing to not stress with video?
Consistency. It's always going to be terrible at the start. You're never going to get the hang of it straight away. I mean, if you're really comfortable in front of the camera, you are 100%, but majority of the people are not. Just keep going, be consistent with it. It gets easier the more you do it. I always say, would you rather be talking in front of your stories in front of 700 followers to get used to it when you're really, really bad, or would you rather just pop on your stories when you're really, really bad and you have hundreds and thousands of followers? It's consistency, and that is probably the number one thing that you need in your content. A lot of people pack in the reels because they don't see the benefit in doing them because they've only posted for about a week. Of course, you're not going to see the benefit in it. I always say to give your content, to give your niche 6 to 8 months to a year to actually get the benefit from it.
Yeah, and then that's kind of 6 to 8 months just posting at your own kind of consistency, like however much a week, but just committing to something and then sticking with it.
Yeah. You know, setting yourself a challenge like I'm doing in December. Like, I've never posted a reel every single day. I've never done it. But I set myself that goal to sort of see what happens in my content, and the engagement, like, it's probably what, are we on the third, the fourth one in, and
Fourth, I think, here.
the engagement right now, like, there's so many comments, the views are going up every day, and I'm not all about like the comments and the likes and the views. I really don't care. I've stopped watching them, but to know what I need to do in 2024 for my content, I'm slowly learning. I need to look into my insights to see what's performing well and what's not.
Yeah. I guess it gives people an opportunity to know you and like know who they're speaking to and who they want to work with like really well. With your insights, what are the stuff probably geeking out on the little things here, but what are the stuff in terms of insights, in terms of performance? What are the biggest metrics people should look at? Like likes, views, is that more of a vanity thing nowadays? Is it more like saves and shares? Like what kind of data do you look for, and what kind of data do you try and optimize, I guess, for?
I would say probably overall, there's some reels of mine that's only probably had about 600 to 800. I won't tend to look at them, but if it's over the 1,000 point, I would definitely would. Saves are definitely a big one because that means you've added value into your reels. So people obviously want to go back and watch it. Likes, not so much. Like I could watch your full reel and not like it. I could watch it 5, 10 times and I could probably still like it. If I really like it, I would like it. But yeah, I don't really focus on the likes. Views, absolutely do. Just to see what's working well and what people are watching. I can't actually remember if there's a time. I know on TikTok you can see the time that people are watching it. I think Instagram has recently introduced it. So you can literally see if people are watching it to the end or not. Yeah, I think generally I would look overall to see what's performing, especially for the saves.
Okay, amazing. And I guess, yeah, it's easy to sometimes find yourself like just saving something, not liking it, and it's like, this was really valuable, and it's like you do one but not the other. Yeah, amazing. And then with the when it comes to like the work you do now for clients and how it's all transition, how does that look like? How does your kind of like a typical day or week for Victoria look like? What are the kind of stuff you typically do now, and yeah, how does that kind of all?
Yeah, so probably talk back to last week. Starting last Monday, I was at a live event, so it was actually Women in Business. So I was actually a part of the event. It's like a mastermind. And then I had a studio shoot straight after. And then I was in Glasgow working with Neil Shoney for 2 days. So I was only home on Thursday night. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I was fully booked. So I had no time to edit because it was such a busy week. Where this week, still busy with shoots, but not as many. So from today to Wednesday, I'm going to be trying to catch up and all this editing, and then I'm straight back into shoots again. So it just sort of depends how busy I am. So referencing back to last week, no editing was done because I was constantly behind the camera. Where this week it's a little bit less busy. So I'll be on the computer most of the week.
Yeah, yeah, it sounds like you're very relentless with everything. So it's like you probably need the time sometimes to just like even like do like lower thinking tasks as well sometimes in terms of like and is that now just fully just a fitness and mentorship style and business, like fully within the kind of fitness space? And the wedding kind of transition, that's kind of fully transitioned away. And when was the transition from that with?
When I probably first started with Martin 4 years ago, that just sort of cut off. But to be honest, I know I introduced myself as a fitness photographer, but I am now branching out to more brands, and I just haven't got used to saying that I'm a brand photographer. So yeah, we do food photography, we do products, we work with a lot with small businesses. But it's just getting used to, obviously 4 years now. I have been working predominantly in the fitness space, where this year we have branched out, and it's just trying to say that now and it's not happening.
Yeah, that's amazing though. It's amazing in terms of like the project, the growth in terms of like that direction. So what kind of inspired the transition or the change in some of the other areas, like the food side of things, the small businesses, and kind of venturing out from the or
I don't actually know what like kicked it
yeah.
off. We've worked with Michael Dean and Alex Green. for the food space. So obviously if you're from Northern Ireland, you know how big Dean is and how big Alex is. Um, and down below our studio, we have iBrand. So she brands everything. I brand everything, technically in the name. So we would do all her content stuff, you know, for all her products and all her clients. So the need has always been there, and people have asked us, can you do the content? And we've always said yes. We've just haven't really promoted it the way that we are now. Because it is Christmas, we've started doing family portraits again. And we have now started doing dog photography as well. So, you know, people want it. So obviously we're going to give it. You know, we're content creators, we can do it. But it's just promoting ourselves for that.
Yeah, I imagine the content, the dog photos and stuff get huge engagement on it. Um, yeah, that's really interesting though, in terms of just being super like, I guess a big kind of thing for me as well is sometimes just needing to be more aware of what people want and doing more of that rather than trying to, get stuck in just doing random stuff. With brands, one kind of big question, one big kind of thought process was, what are your thoughts on the kind of very personal brand style work you do? And then you've also got like the I might not know the exact name of it, but the guys that like logo up and it's very like professional, very, you can't always tell who the person is. Like, have you seen people do well with like a big logo within coaching? Like, when would you recommend keeping to a personal brand? Like, when would you recommend going more towards like the logo route? And then, yeah, that's kind of my thought. I mean, essentially, I'm butchering the names here on the two different.
I think it's probably going back, if I've picked up your question right, going back to, you know, selling yourself. Regarding logos, putting your logo on, say, a jumper, are people going to buy your name on a jumper? Probably not, you know. Although it is obviously free merch, and we see it all the time over here in Northern Ireland, you know, coaches always seem to put their names on their merch and expect people to buy it, but people don't really want to buy it. You know, you're probably better if you sign up for me, you know, you get a free welcome pack or whatever it is. That's free merch free, because they're probably more likely to wear it because you've given it as a gift than actually them going out and buying it. Hopefully I've picked up that right. Have I picked it up?
Yeah, that's perfect. No, the other kind of thought I had, and something that, to be honest, I was kind of, I've had a conversation with recently, is like also potentially the route of even like an Instagram page, like a coach, like having a logo, everything's kind of very like Nike style orientated. You can't always tell who's the person behind that. Have you, what are your thoughts on like going more towards a personal brand versus the other side of it? Like, have you guys seen much success on people going like very like logo orientated from the beginning, and very like Nike style or Adidas or any kind of big, versus it not being a personal brand?
I think it's different, you know, if you are a product, you are your product. Where if it's a coach and they're constantly posting graphics, I would definitely question, you know, why are you posting the graphics and not yourself or your clients? Where if you do have a brand, I don't see why you can't just constantly post a brand. Obviously throw yourself in there, because obviously people want to see who's behind the brand, who's behind the logo. But yeah, I think coaches definitely put yourselves out there. Make sure you're on your content, because people want to know you for you. But if you're a brand, you know, I would definitely do a mixture of both.
Yeah, I see. So yeah, that's just kind of wondering on that. Like, I think it's sometimes people buy into, like, especially for coaching, I find like people buy into the aspiration of almost living the lifestyle of the coach, and if it's not being shown, it's quite hard to do that. So what are some things, I guess, for someone maybe getting into it that might be a bit anxious of putting themselves out there? Like, what are the simple steps in terms of putting themselves out there, and then how can you get over the fear of maybe being judged, or like your work friends or your college friends or whatever, like laughing at you and like thinking this?
Yeah, well, that's probably like the number one thing that people are afraid of, and I always say, just put yourself out there. I had the fear at the start, and that's probably like crazy for me to like say, but yeah, I had the fear of posting. Had the fear of people wondering what the heck is she doing? Like, does she have the right to post this? And yeah, you absolutely do. You know, you are your brand, and I always say your clients will probably become your friends quicker than your friends will actually come to you. Now don't get me wrong, my friends do come to me for the content, but generally, you know, if you're a coach or in that space, it's very unlikely someone in your close net will reach out for help. Again, consistency is key. Just do it consistently and you will stop caring what other people think. Try not to compare yourself to other people, because your journey is your journey. They have probably went down a different path than you have. This is your journey. Stick to your path. Try not to stray from it. And I think that's probably generally summed up.
Yeah, amazing. It's like it's interesting that you can compare yourself with people at the start, but you can then also compare yourself with like people on social media, and it's like both of these are not useful at all in terms of like moving forward.
Yeah, it's probably one thing, like coaches follow coaches. It's bizarre to me on why they do, but I actually don't follow any other content creators, but just for my headspace really. Because I know myself, I would start comparing myself to other content creators. And I just sort of stick to my own path. It's me that I stick to, and people come to me for me, especially females come to me because I'm the only female fitness photographer, you know, and I sort of have to keep on reminding myself of that. And that's my journey. So if I start looking at other people, I'll probably get distracted. Now, don't get me wrong, I do snoop. Everyone snoops. But I just have to remind myself, you know, they've been doing it for so much longer than I have. Like, I've only really been doing the fitness space for 4 years now. 4 years is still a lot of years to be doing it. But you know, the guys here in Northern Ireland, there's a few that it's been like 10, 15 years, you know. But I always remind myself it's my journey. Just stick to it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting because it's so hard like when you see someone else and it's like almost like a automatic thing or subconscious thing. You're like, he's got it all figured out, his content looks way better. You never think of like the negative anything like remotely like that you might be doing better. Or you know, like, are you're gonna go out of business, he's doing things so much better, and then it's like the worst case scenario, and it's like not helpful at all. And with photographers, videographers, stuff like that, is there a rule of thumb, in your opinion, when it comes to working with someone, and how like I guess sometimes, and this is like maybe an interesting conversation when I was personal training as well. It's like, at what point do you feel like you know you're ready to work with a photographer or videographer like for your content, and then what's I guess like what's when's a good time to work with someone? And I guess sometimes it's maybe just taking responsibility of it and not thinking, okay, this is gonna like make me money right away kind of thing. I think it's like some things that I guess sometimes can, for anything can happen. It's like any kind of investment, you take responsibility of like working with it. But that's kind of two parts of it, I guess.
Regarding like the time when you should book a photographer, I'm probably gonna be totally direct on why aren't you booking one? You know, professional content can be used on many many platforms. You know, you could be on your website, it could be Insta, Facebook, LinkedIn. You are your brand. You want your brand to look as professional as possible, and professional imagery, professional video probably going to get you there a lot quicker. If you're standing, you know, with your phone and you're struggling to edit, you're struggling to record, you know, let someone that is specialist do the work for you. You know, there's one thing that we always say: if you're sick, would you rather go to a generalist or a specialist? You're going to say the specialist. I totally forgot the other side of your question.
Oh yeah, no, no, it was more like more of an idea, more of an observation and a thought here, and I'm not too sure like how it could be as a question, but sometimes, and this is like a thing of me, a mistake I make in the past, like anything you kind of do, like any kind of investment into the business, almost like if you want to make it work, you also need to like not just show up and like do the photos, but you need to push it and you need to like really take, you know, full responsibility of it working. Is there anything in particular people can do with their content, and once they get photography or videography, to like really like actually own, truly own the content and like take responsibility? Like, what are some stuff they can do to take responsibility of it working? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it really does. Again, value in your posts. Value is going to be the key thing in your content. Obviously, consistency. I've said that so many times. Um, a lot of people think once I post one thing, I'm going to get so many clients. No, you're not. No, that's the truth. You need to be consistent. You know, I could be posting every single day. Do I get a booking every single day? No, I don't. But I know, like, we have lurkers on our content. People are sitting on the fence, they are watching you, and it will just be that one post. They're like, right, I'm actually going to message. And obviously posting is not all about how you get your clients. You know, you still need to do the work behind the scenes to get your clients as well. But having that professional look and showing you will definitely help. And it also gives you any, you know, lifestyle shoot will give you so many opportunities to talk about anything, any topic. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah. And I think with that, like with especially with the lifestyle, like photography and stuff, I think it's definitely seems like it's coming back more on Instagram now, like at the moment anyway, like in terms of like one single picture with like a good caption, definitely seems like it's making a comeback. Um, yeah, and it's one of those of like, I guess just detaching yourself, I guess a little bit from like actually just thinking, getting clients and actually just enjoying the process of just creating content and being like a little bit better with each one, I guess is where things actually start to work more. And it's like trying to find a process of doing that. Um, is there any trends you see with content? Like, do you really feel like one thing that kind of one conversation that maybe scared me a little bit was like um someone said, like someone saying, oh, like, you know, content is just going to get shorter and shorter and it's going to get even like more like attention grabby. But where do you see it going in terms of like, do you see like longer form content, like what IGTV was ever making a comeback? Like, what are the kind of trends that you think maybe people need to lean in when it comes to?
I don't believe it's gonna make a comeback. It's TikTok is sort of took over. So obviously it's short videos, it's impactful, you know, funny videos, whatever your TikTok for you page. So Instagram is trying to be like TikTok. Now don't get me wrong, long form, if it's impactful enough, people are going to watch it. But I would say short form videos are here to stay, and if you're not doing them at the minute, definitely hop on that trend because you are probably missing out. Not as in you're missing out in the great fun, you're missing out on, you know, a value to be had for people that's watching your content. So yeah, short form's here to stay. So you're better hopping on it now, getting better at it now, so you can definitely switch to the trends that are going to come in. Don't know what they are, but just hop onto the short forms.
Yeah, and how would you go about like how would you go about finding trends that just almost looking at what's on TikTok or what competitors, are doing, what their most trending content is, trying to replicate that, add your own kind of voice.
Yeah, so I would definitely, I obviously said don't look about you too much, but I would look at the people that you look up to for, your life or your business, whatever it tends to be. What do you like within their content and why? Um, watch their videos, read what they're posting, and then try and do something like theirs, but for your niche. Um, and then you can sort of adjust. So as I said, I'm posting in December each and every single day. So I can adjust in January 2024 for the content ahead because I know what is working well for my content. So if you haven't hopped on to the short form yet, I would definitely do it as soon as possible. I would do it every single day, as hard as it might be. Sit down, plan it before you do anything. I planned out the whole month. So I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm typing out every single day. Um, and then you can adjust accordingly from there because you will see what does well and what doesn't.
Yeah. One thing I've been kind of thinking about with that is just going like I've been maybe trying to be too like strategic for things or like too lazy in terms of filming every single day. So like what I've done is just filmed like all like loads of content, like 30 reels in one go. Like is that something you'd recommend, and just having it kind of, would it make it more efficient, or do you think it would actually hinder by the time day 30 comes around? Would the trends change too much if you're going to do that?
No, I actually recommend doing it and I do it myself. But I would recommend changing clothes. So I wear blazers all the time, so I would change my blazer. Or I would change like my trousers, just to make it different, so it looks like you have recorded it on a different day. But yeah, batch record is probably the best thing that you can do because you can then schedule your posts from there, and then you don't have to worry about posting. You can get back to whatever you're doing that week. So, or month, should I say? If you can schedule it for a month, schedule it for a month.
Yeah, and it saves a lot of time, and I find that by the time you get to like 5 or 10 reels in, you're way more relaxed anyway. So it actually makes the first five you can kind of remove, and you're like, okay, it flows a lot easier. You kind of like forget you're speaking to a camera at one point. Um, so in terms of your stuff, I think one thing I always find like fascinating is like, what are the things, I guess maybe we'll kind of wrap up, but like one thing I find always really interesting is like, what are the stuff that you kind of find motivates you in terms of pushing on? Because like the last 4 years, and like potentially even before, like from what we're talking about, it seems like you've just pushed relentlessly hard in terms of getting to where you are. So like, what motivates you to keep pushing on and keep putting content out, doing the daily stuff, venturing out into other areas?
Like I love my job. I love what I do. I love helping people, and I love seeing the girls' reaction when they come to me. Like it's the number one line. Oh my God, is that me? And it's it's seeing someone so happy within themselves. It makes me happy. Um, helping girls find their inner confidence is great. Helping brands just boost themselves out there. Um, I don't know whether you've watched the documentary, but I recently done a documentary with one of our video guys, Chris, and it's all about my journey. And my granda passed away when I was 9, but he's the biggest inspiration in my life. He taught me like how to draw, how to paint. He had like cameras himself, so he is probably the number one reason why I keep pushing. But if we want to get into the nitty and gritty, I also have bills to pay, like everyone else in this world. But I'm not really money based. I love helping people. So yeah, it's probably the the love for helping people helps me push on.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. It feels like sometimes to me anyway, like it's different. But I feel like sometimes you can only push to a certain point if you're very money orientated, and it's like, oh, what's the point to keep pushing on? Um, with the Yeah, and I guess with that then it's just more like the empowering side of things, and it's like the self, I guess the self development and pushing on for, and then with the with that just to, is there anything like, I guess most of the people listening are going to be more like business owners and more yeah, business owners. So like, is there anything you find like, I'm guessing at some point in the last 4 years, something kind of has. I know I have these stories in my head a lot. It's like if things like overwhelm, stress, like things that kind of hit the fan at certain points. What are the kind of stuff you find in terms of? Is there anything like um you find helps keep pushing on, or is anything like from a mindset perspective you found to be useful in terms of like keeping you grounded in the moment? Like if things are stressful at any point, you're like, okay, this is not, it's not too bad. I can figure it out. It seems like you're very grounded in the moment. It seems like you're not super high from an energy perspective, like emotionally, but not too low. You seem very. I think that's kind of what you need sometimes.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, last week I was so stressed. I have reached the point where I am burnt out this week. Was going to take a day off, but I'm currently editing behind me. So it's all about knowing yourself and when to call it quits. And I am my own worst enemy. I push on and push on and push on, and then I hit the point of I'm gonna break, and then I do break, and then it sets me back. So, it's about knowing when I do get tired, just to chill, to relax, to do things that I want to do. Like, I am not ashamed to admit it, but I do have duvet days. Like, I have days I don't even get out of my jammies because I just want to reset, because I'd rather perform at 100% my best than 50% my best.
If you push way too hard, like all the time, and it's something I'm actually guilty of, is like it's easy to just like derail yourself, and it's actually hard to admit like, it's actually going to get worse if I push on. So it's like trying to find some other balance.
Yeah, I mean, I always say I'd rather be performing at 100% my best than 50%. And, pushing on to the days where I am feeling like under the weather or feeling tired, feeling stressed, I always say it, I put VCP face on and just get out there, come home and totally relax. Like, there's days where I have duvet days, and I'm not afraid to admit it. Like, there's days where I do not get dressed, where I just want to chill. I don't want anyone to talk to me. I do not want to be touching my phone. And I just want to sit down, relax. And there are the days where I literally just reset to go back in the following day or the following week and just be like, right, 100% again, let's go. And that's how I keep my motivation and how I keep my energy levels up. But that's because I know how to manage myself. I have learned over the years and when burnout is going to happen. And obviously with last week, burnout is going to happen. And today was meant to be a day off, but today is not a day off. And it was actually one thing that we were actually talking about this morning within the team, and it's about taking a bubble day. So I'm definitely going to be taking a bubble day tomorrow, and I'm just going to be doing stuff for me to help me reset, to come back into this week and totally perform at 110%. So I would definitely recommend bubble days. Now, I actually haven't had one. I do take days off, but a bubble day, you can go to the beach, you can go out for breakfast, lunch, whatever you need, or spa. I am thinking about going to the spa tomorrow. But like, a bubble day just helps you get back to you, and I think that's probably the most beneficial thing that you can do for yourself and your business, because at the end of the day, you need 100% to work at 100%.
Yeah, and it sometimes comes from that place of like guilt of not wanting to give up or not wanting to like screw things up that you've worked super hard for. Um, what are your signs that what are your signs, I guess, of needing when you're like, okay, this is actually like counterproductive. I need to look at taking time off. Is there any signs, I guess?
Yes, but there is signs. I've said for like a couple of months now, I do think I have ADHD. Because I cannot concentrate on one single thing. And when I have days where I'm really tired, I would get more distracted. So, you know, I am 100 miles per hour. I would do things, I just can't be doing one thing. I need to be doing 100 things, and that's just me. And that's the way I function. It's weird to say it, but it's an organized mess in my head. um So when that sort of happens, I sort of take a step back. I do get overstimulated sometimes where I just need to go into a dark room and just concentrate, right? Calm down, take a breath, take an hour or two, and then I come back to it. One thing that I've actually found as well, I've always done a to-do list, but recently I've been doing it black pen, red marker. So I write down in black pen what I need to do, cross it out of what I've done with red pen. It's been absolutely amazing for me. Just to show what I have done throughout the day. Like I write everything down in this list. It could be like even when I put my socks on in the morning, something so stupid. I've still done it. I've made my bed in the morning. I've still done it. You know, looking back on the day and thinking, gosh, I have done so much today, will benefit you for the following day. And I think just little things like that will really, really help.
Yeah, yeah. I found it similar in terms of like even doing it for me. It's like on the notes and just putting a green tick on it and just leaving it on the notes
Yeah.
rather than deleting it, because like that zoo list realistically is never going to be finished like ever. So if you just keep deleting it, you're like I've done nothing. But if you just update it, it makes it a lot easier. So, what are your big kind of goals, targets, anything vision in mind for 2024? Anything like that at all? Or how does that look?
Well, to be fair, I actually haven't really like mapped it out yet, but in my head I have. um, shall we put it on paper now? We'll put it on paper now. 2024, I am reaching out to more brands. So I want to be known for the go-to brand photographer for anyone that needs content. Um, Obviously not just for the photography aspect, we're a whole production team, so we can do anything basically for brands. We are a one-stop shop. So it's putting our names out there to help people that need content. Put it on paper.
Yeah. Amazing. That's the accountability side of things, boxed off. But that's powerful because it's like it's not something that like on paper you can tick it. Like, you can't realistically like tick it off. It's not like, oh, I want to make like this amount per month. It's like a big anchor in a way you almost have in terms of always having something that like a shining star, I guess, or like a north light that you can kind of keep pushing towards. And anything along just I guess it's more. I was thinking about this more before the episode in terms of like the documentary you mentioned, and then you mentioned it here. Is like any kind of big like values or words or missions you try and base everything off, like anything around that, like is a big thing in terms of like I don't know, for us it's like attention to detail and it's like integrity and that element of it. But I don't know if you have anything like that keeps you, any words or any values or anything like along that kind of keeps you linked. I was just wondering. It's only from the documentary and from what you
Yeah,
mentioned.
I don't know whether you guys can see it, but I have it. And I was like, up here it says they can only catch me if I slow down, just keep pushing forward. And it's one thing that I stick by all the time. Um, you know, if I have weeks or months where I do stop posting and then bookings slow down, I then panic and then obviously I have to then catch up what I haven't done. And just having that on my whiteboard just helped so much, because it's like it's a constant reminder of I can't slow down. Like, I've got work to do, I've got people to help, I've got content to create for people. So yeah, I think that quote's
Amazing.
probably the biggest quote.
Yeah. What was the was it? I might be misinterpreting it. They can only stop me if you slow down. Was that right? Or I got it complete?
So they can only catch me if I slow down.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I've never heard that one. That's amazing. And then yeah, well, nowadays you can just ask ChatGPT to generate like loads of similar ones.
Yeah.
um, and then the last kind of big thing that I just thought would be a great way to wrap up was from like the moment you transition from even like going into the freelance self-employed like uncertain world like where everything is like on fire like 9 times out of 10. What do you feel like has been kind of your biggest lesson from that journey in terms of getting into that side of things, and what's something maybe you wish you could kind of tell yourself first getting into it, or something that you feel like, oh, this is like a really powerful.
Oh, I have not been asked this in such a long time. Let's see. Probably to believe in myself, and to have the confidence to put yourself out there. I actually got told off last Monday when I was at that webinar that I do not talk about myself enough. Because I've worked with big brands, I've worked with big people, and I dull that down when I'm talking to people. And it's probably one thing in 2024 I want to get better at, is to believe in myself that I have worked with these brands. So smaller brands shouldn't hesitate to work with me as well. So yeah, self-belief and confidence.
Yeah, and it's such an interesting one with self-belief and confidence. Is there any habits or quick wins or things people like you would do to instill that quicker, or is it, for me it's more like rewatching the results and things we get for people and I'm like, okay, this actually works. But is there anything on your side in terms of that helped you build self-belief and confidence and conviction?
Um, to be honest, it's been like a really long journey with me to build that up. I was bullied quite badly when I was in school, and it was throughout the whole school. So I wasn't really confident, didn't really believe in myself. So yeah, it's just took time for me to build up on that. And musical theatre has probably been like the biggest thing for my confidence. And same as you, probably, when people come back to me and they're like, oh my God, you're amazing at what you do, I'm so glad I picked you. That also gives me a wee confidence boost as well. So girls, if you're listening, you can send the message over. um, but yeah, I think things like that just really help my confidence.
Yeah, and so with musical theatre, is that you doing the musical theatre? Like that's like an extra thing? Oh,
Actually standing on stage performing. Yeah, I don't do it anymore. But I maybe stopped that. I stopped it for COVID, and then I was too old to go back into the production fusion theatre that I was in. I did want to start it again, but just with work and everything, it didn't work out. But Guys and Dolls maybe be on the cards. Don't know yet.
yeah. It's a big like anticipation thing coming up soon, creating excitement. Amazing. But yeah, thank you so much for jumping on this podcast. And I guess just to sum up, just to wrap up here, with the episode, like, Victoria, where can people find you? What can people, they should know this by now, but like, what can people want, like, in terms of if they need to reach out, what are the kind of stuff you have at the moment, like, or where can people go, I guess is probably the easiest question, the easiest direction.
So probably TikTok or LinkedIn is just Victoria Connery. I do also have a podcast with it, which is Chat VCP. Yeah, that's probably Victoria Connery. I'm sure if you type in VCP on Instagram, it will also come up.
Cool, perfect. Yeah, there'll be the links to those two channels below, and we'll pick up from there. Anything you might need from this episode, it'll be in the caption or description below. And yeah, thank you for joining this episode.